Welcome to TT-Buddhism, a channel born from the search for truth, clarity, and inner peace through the timeless wisdom of the Buddha. What if the one path that bridges both science and spirituality was never meant to be followed blindly, but to be experienced deeply? My name is your name, and for as long as I can remember, I've been on a journey, a relentless quest to understand life, the universe, and the hidden truths behind our existence. I wasn't raised in a religious household, but my heart burned with curiosity. I devoured the Bible, drawn to its powerful moral teachings. I studied the Vedas, enchanted by their spiritual depth. I explored the Quran, seeking to understand the divine thread that runs through human consciousness. And yet, something felt incomplete. These texts opened doors, but I still longed for something deeper, something grounded, experiential, and free from dogma. Then one day, I stumbled upon the Kalama Sutta, a short yet profound discourse by the Buddha. Do not believe something just because it is written in scripture. Only accept what you have tested and found true for yourself. That one teaching shook me to my core. From that moment on, I immersed myself in the ancient Nikaya texts, where the Buddha's words were like a beam of clarity slicing through centuries of confusion. I wasn't just reading philosophy, I was encountering a living science of the mind, a path of personal liberation grounded in wisdom and insight. And that's what brings us to today's video. In this episode, we'll explore a fascinating bridge between two of the greatest minds in human history. Albert Einstein, the genius physicist who redefined our understanding of the universe, and Gautama, the Buddha, whose insights into the mind and reality offer a timeless path to freedom. You'll discover why Einstein, despite rejecting religion, believed Buddhism is the one tradition that aligns with modern science. We'll look into how both he and the Buddha approached reality, not with blind belief, but with open inquiry, humility, and a thirst for understanding. Stay with me, because this journey might just change the way you see science, spirituality, and your own mind forever. Part 1. A Seeker's Awakening, From Scriptures to Silence. For most of my life, I have been a seeker, not of wealth or fame, but of truth. From a young age, I was captivated by the mystery of existence. Why are we here? What governs the cosmos, and what does it all mean? That hunger led me to the world's most revered spiritual texts. I studied the Bible, admiring its profound moral lessons. I read the Vedas, immersed in their poetic vision of creation and consciousness. I explored the Quran, drawn to its divine rhythm and emphasis on devotion. Each scripture revealed a different facet of truth, and yet, the deeper I went, the more I realized something was missing. They spoke of God, commandments, heavens, and hells, but they left little room for my questions, my doubts, my experience. Then, one quiet evening, while browsing through obscure philosophical forums, I came across a Buddhist discourse called the Kalama Sutta. It was unlike anything I had ever read. The Buddha said, "Do not believe something just because it is written in scripture. Do not believe it because a teacher says so. Only accept what aligns with reason and what you have experienced yourself to be true." I froze. It felt like the universe had spoken directly to me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I began reading more and soon found myself diving into the Nikaya texts, where the original words of the Buddha were preserved. What I discovered was not a religion in the traditional sense. It was a science of the mind, a clear path to peace, a method for understanding suffering and how to end it. That moment changed everything. Part 2. Two geniuses, one path. Einstein meets the Buddha. As I delved deeper into the teachings of the Buddha, I was struck by how methodical, logical, and experiential his path was. He didn't demand belief, he invited exploration. He didn't offer salvation from above, he showed the path inward through direct insight, observation, and self-liberation. And that's when I stumbled upon something truly remarkable, a quote by Albert Einstein, the very man who reshaped modern physics. He said, "Buddhism is the only religion that can cope with the demands of modern science." That statement sent a ripple through my heart. Why would one of the greatest scientific minds of all time speak so reverently about a spiritual tradition? Curious, I dug deeper. What I found was astonishing. Einstein wasn't just a scientist. He was a philosopher of the cosmos. He questioned dogma, he rejected blind belief, and, just like the Buddha, he saw truth as something to be discovered through humility and observation, not inherited through tradition or dictated by fear. Einstein believed in a universe governed not by a personal God, but by an elegant, harmonious order, something deeply aligned with the Buddhist understanding of dependent origination and natural law, Dhamma. He spoke of the illusion of separateness, of the need to expand our compassion beyond ourselves, all echoing the Buddha's message of non-self, anatta, and universal compassion. This video will uncover that extraordinary bridge between Einstein and the Buddha. Two men, born centuries and continents apart, yet united in their pursuit of truth. One through physics, the other through meditation, and perhaps, just perhaps, by walking in their footsteps, we too can find a deeper understanding of life and of ourselves. Part 3. Science of the Mind. The Buddha's method matches Einstein's vision. The deeper I explored, the clearer it became. Einstein and the Buddha were speaking the same language, just in different forms. Where Einstein used the tools of physics to study the outer universe, the Buddha turned inward, examining the mechanics of the mind with piercing clarity. Both were scientists in their own right, not content with superficial answers, but compelled to uncover the fundamental laws that governed existence. Einstein's theory of relativity transformed how we understand space and time, revealing they are not fixed but relative to the observer. That insight, groundbreaking in physics, echoed something the Buddha had taught thousands of years earlier in a different domain, that our experience of reality is shaped by the mind. The Buddha taught that everything we perceive is conditioned, not fixed, but dependent on causes, attention, and mental formations. And when it came to belief, they were both remarkably aligned. Einstein warned against blind faith and believed that morality must not be rooted in fear of punishment or hope for reward. The Buddha said the same. He taught that true wisdom arises from insight, and that ethical behavior should be based not on dogma, but on understanding, compassion, and a deep knowing of cause and effect, karma. Even more striking, both rejected the idea of a personal God. Einstein found beauty in the universe's natural order and spoke of Spinoza's God, a divine presence expressed through the harmony of nature. Similarly, the Buddha saw no need for a creator deity. Instead, he taught that the universe functions according to natural laws, the 5 niyamas, of which karma is only one. What astonished me most was this. The Buddha's insights into consciousness, self, and suffering were not only spiritual, they were scientific. Part 4. The Illusion of Self. A shared insight into freedom. Among all the intersections between Einstein's worldview and the Buddha's path, one stood out as profoundly transformative: the illusion of the self. Einstein once described the individual's sense of being separate from the rest of the universe as a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. He believed that this illusion traps us, making us care only for those closest to us, while ignoring our connection to the greater whole. To him, freedom meant breaking free from that illusion, expanding our compassion to include all life. The Buddha, thousands of years earlier, had taught the same insight, but with even more precision. He called it a non-self. According to him, what we call the self is merely a bundle of fleeting sensations, thoughts, perceptions, and habits, all constantly changing. To cling to this I is to suffer. To see through it is to be free. This wasn't just philosophical poetry, it was a psychological truth. The Buddha taught that by observing our thoughts and emotions with mindful awareness, we begin to see that there is no solid, permanent self behind them. There is just process, movement, impermanence. And when we realize this deeply, the prison walls of ego begin to crumble. Einstein and the Buddha both understood that liberation doesn't come from adding more to ourselves, but from letting go of false identities, letting go of attachments, letting go of the illusion that we are isolated fragments in a vast universe. They both offered a path, not to escape the world, but to awaken within it. And that awakening, as they both knew, begins with one courageous act: seeing clearly. Part 5. The Right Questions. Solving Suffering, Not Speculating the Universe. In the face of mystery, most people ask, where did we come from? Or, how did the universe begin? But both Einstein and the Buddha asked something even more essential. What causes suffering? And how do we become free from it? Einstein was endlessly curious about the structure of the universe, but he also recognized the limits of scientific knowledge. He once said, "The most beautiful and profound experience is the sensation of the mystical, to know that what is impenetrable to us really exists." This was not blind belief. It was reverence for the vastness that lies beyond comprehension. But while Einstein admired the cosmic mysteries, he never let them distract from the importance of ethics, compassion, and the well-being of humanity. The Buddha's wisdom followed a similar trajectory. One of his disciples once asked, "How vast is the universe?" And the Buddha replied, "Does knowing that help you end suffering?" When the disciple admitted it didn't, the Buddha gently said, "Then why focus on it?" His answer wasn't evasive, it was precise. The Buddha saw that countless people waste their lives chasing answers to questions that don't liberate them. He compared it to a man struck by a poisoned arrow who refuses treatment until he knows who shot it, what kind of bow they used, and where they came from, and dies before finding out. The core of both Einstein's and the Buddha's message is this: truth must be practical. Knowledge must serve liberation. Any wisdom that doesn't reduce suffering is incomplete. Rather than seeking explanations that may never come, they both encouraged us to start with what matters most: the mind, the heart, the present moment. Part 6. Mindfulness and Modern Science. East meets West. As I continued my journey, something remarkable came into focus. What the Buddha discovered through meditation 2,500 years ago, modern science is only beginning to confirm. Today, neuroscientists and psychologists are turning their attention inward, not just to the brain, but to consciousness, mindfulness, and emotional resilience. And they're finding that the most effective tools for clarity, calm, and healing often come not from pharmaceuticals, but from ancient Buddhist practices. Across the globe, Buddhist techniques like Vipassana meditation, mindful breathing, and compassion training are being taught in hospitals, classrooms, and even corporate boardrooms. Why? Because they work. MRI scans show that consistent mindfulness practice can physically rewire the brain, reducing stress, sharpening focus, and enhancing emotional regulation. Science, it seems, is catching up to the Buddha. And who better to represent this bridge between science and spirit than Albert Einstein himself? Though he never practiced Buddhism, his worldview echoed its wisdom. He believed that our problems couldn't be solved by the same level of thinking that created them. Like the Buddha, he saw that transformation begins not with changing the outer world, but with changing the way we perceive it. Einstein once said, "Physical concepts are free creations of the human mind." The Buddha had said the same. All phenomena are preceded by the mind, ruled by the mind, created by the mind. Two men from vastly different worlds, one with a telescope, the other with closed eyes, yet both arriving at the same truth. The greatest frontier is not outer space, but inner space. In this convergence lies our hope, a future where science and wisdom, reason and compassion work together to liberate humanity. Part 7. A new way of seeing the union of wonder and wisdom. So here we are, at the meeting point of two luminous paths. Einstein, the scientist of the stars, and the Buddha, the scientist of the soul. Both sought truth not in dogma, but in direct experience. Both challenged the limits of human perception, and both believed that liberation begins with seeing the world and ourselves more clearly. What struck me most is this: neither of them claimed to possess all the answers. Instead, they urged us to remain humble, curious, and compassionate. Einstein warned of the illusion of separateness. The Buddha dismantled it with the concept of non-self. Einstein saw morality as something that must be rooted in inner awareness. In a world overwhelmed by noise, speed, and surface-level solutions, their shared message rings clearer than ever. The answers are not out there. They are within. Freedom, peace, and clarity arise, not when we escape life, but when we look directly into it with eyes open and hearts steady. If Einstein were alive today, I believe he would smile at how modern science is slowly rediscovering truths that the Buddha quietly taught beneath a Bodhi tree 2,500 years ago. So as we close, I invite you to reflect. What if science and spirituality were never meant to compete, but to complete each other? What if, by uniting reason with mindfulness, curiosity with compassion, we could build not only a better understanding of the universe, but a better way to live? This is what TT-Buddhism stands for. Thank you for walking this path of discovery with me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with anyone who still believes that science and spirituality must walk separate roads. Because sometimes the greatest truths are found where paths converge.